Right, I'm now back again. Continuing on from the last video, we left off, we were on Anne Wrestling's individual entry screen. So I've gone from the address book, we've clicked here, we've seen the individual letters that we've gone here. Now what this allows you to do is, the client might have said, I didn't receive this letter, so I can now click and print this letter again to the client if I wanted to. So I can quickly print that. It will print this letter now that I've got on the screen. I'm pretty sure it will. Let me see. 2 previous attempts. Is that the one? 2 previous attempts. Yes, so it's the one that we've got obviously here. So if I print now, whatever letter we have in preview here, it will print. So if I select this one, now this is the one we've got on file, and I'm going to do something. I'm just going to change the date on the computer, because I'm pretty sure that that should change, shouldn't it? I'll change the date to the 22nd. Because see, the last date we printed that report was the 20th of July. So if I print that now, or print that report, printed that letter. If I print this again now, aha, here we go. It's come up and says, do you want to print this letter with the original date or change the date to today's date? Aha, because on the letter, when I print it, it shows the date, doesn't it? So I'm going to keep the date for a second. Keep the date and I'll show you. Then when it prints the letter for the client, it shows this date, which is the 20th of July, which is actually today's date. But in two days' time, if I reprint that letter again, well, that's not today's date anymore. It's a date from a previous date. So it asks you, do you want to print the exact copy, or do you want us to change, or do you want the date of the letter changed? Because this is a new date now. So that's what it's asking for. And I think if you do print from a different date, it will then redate this to the most recent date that you printed. In this example, I would obviously be creating a new letter. If I change the dates, I want to record everything. But that's me. Okay, so if I print this again, because I've changed this date to the 22nd, I'm going to print that again. I want to change the date. You see that? It changed it to the 22nd. It changed the one on file, and it changed the date and recorded. It now is the 22nd of July. It says that the last date we printed that was the 22nd of July. Okay, so we both learnt something from that. And if you look down the bottom here, we can also see the current year and the last year. So obviously, if you are a couple of months into the new financial year, you also want to have access to all the letters you've printed for this client last financial year, reasonably available on the screen. So I can click this and it changes it back. But here we don't have any letters for last financial year. I can click this again, it goes back to here. I think if by default, regardless of what you have it opened at, yes, it will go back to the current financial year. So if you were last viewing last financial year's letters and you open it back up, it will default back to this financial year, which is obviously what you want. Now, if I clicked create a new letter from, if I've entered the address book and I click view letters and I click create a new letter, all that does is it takes you back to the default screen. It will take you into the default template screen. But it does something quite different. What it would do is if you select it from here, if I'm in the view letters and I want to create a letter for this client, that was a different client. If I want to jump back, if I want to print another letter for this client, I can click create. But what it does is it automatically gets rid of all that information there, and it automatically says that that's the letter we're creating. We're creating that letter, and we're going to print it for Anne Wrestling. It will still save the letter as a template, but it's only given us the availability to print it for this person because we selected that and we came through from the address book, if you can understand that. So if I create another letter here, just to prove to you, and I print that, it's going to print that to, we get a printing of that, right? And to show you that, if I jump back to here, there's that letter we've just printed now. If I press select, that's the letter here. And if I jump back out of here and I go back into the standard template screen, that template is still there. It kept that letter as a template. So say if that was an individual letter, you think, well, I don't want it saved as a template. By default, the system will automatically save all your newly created letters as templates. Just remember that. If you don't want it saved as a template, just quickly delete it. Hey, I don't want that letter saved. I've now deleted it from the template area. So by default, it saves it. It's doing that as a backup. If you don't want it, just delete it each time. Right, there's only one other feature, or a couple of other things I want to talk about. If you click All Clients, naturally, if I print this now, if I preview, I'm just going to click Preview, right? It now offers me a preview for a copy of all letters for all clients. If I watch here, see this? It now tells me and shows me a preview of 8 letters of 8 people in the address book. So now if I jump out of here and go back and print, and I click print now, and I send it directly to my printer, it will print out 8 individual copies. If I printed it, in this case I'm printing to a PDF, it's not really going to work because it's going to print one PDF file with all the 8 letters included in on it. So that isn't going to work individually for me to print to a PDF. But printing to my printer, naturally I'll get 8 separate copies. There is some limitations with it when you're printing to all clients, but that's useful for printing to a printer. If you have to print individual letters to each individual client as a PDF, because you're attaching it to an email, then you're going to have to print it off each time, which is standard what you'd have to do with just about any program anyway. If I want to print to a PDF, print it, create, print. A bit of messing around, but it still saves a lot of time. Okay, print later. What is that for? That has one unique feature in itself. What it means is this. Let's say you do have a template. Let's say that I created a template. I'm going to create a new letter. Let's say this is sales in July, right? It's my July sales letter, and that is my template code that I've now given it a template code, sales in July, and I'm going to put end of July sales. I come in here and I put please be advised So what I want to talk about now is this print later. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've created this letter. You might offer different percentages for different clients, a different percentage discount. This letter here is I'm offering a discount if you purchase my goods before the end of July. Now, if you click print later, what that means is the moment I click this, it is going to save this letter against all my clients. I'll show you what that means. If I click print later, it goes ahead and it's done that already. If I close that screen now and I jump into my address book, just right on the very first client, if I click that, you'll see it's got the end of July letter here. Now I can go ahead and change that to 15%, and I can print that to my printer for this client. Close that screen. Come back in again, see that? It's still saved at 15% for that client. So now I can go to a new client and go, this client here, I actually give them my end of July newsletter. I only give them a 5% discount because they're not very good payers. So I don't give them any more than 5% because they take too long to pay. So I've elected to print them an individual sales letter and give them a 5% discount. So now I can print that letter. You see what it is? So then you can go back to each individual person in your address book, because I've printed that letter for everyone, and you can individually print their specific rate of discount. So you don't have to create the whole letter again. All you're doing is jumping in here and changing it. So that is what that print later is for. So you can go back now and edit each individual client's letter. Remember, folks, this printing of letters is available and useful in Easy As, and if it serves a purpose for your business, use it. If it doesn't, don't use it.